Binge the full week ad-free over at patreon.com/inspireddisorder.
What you manifest in your mind, you can bring to reality.
This is my top 5 things to do high. Now, specifically, I'm going to be talking about things that I enjoy doing on generally a high-dose edible. Now, I enjoy doing these things just regular high, getting, smoking a joint, but I'm talking about getting baked, getting really high, uncomfortably high, which generally happens for me with a high dose edible. Now, what high dose means to you is something different. I kind of enjoy the 50 to 100 milligram range to really kind of experience. I really like that paranoia and stress to set in. But you're also getting a lot of physical kind of effects as well. So let's get into it. My number 5 thing to do high on an edible is stretching. Stretching and using my foam roller, using my lacrosse ball. One of the things that I enjoy so much, one of the main uses for taking an edible for me is I have a lot of back pain. I have a lot of back issues from either, working on a computer, painting, standing up, sitting down, whatever it is. I have a lot of back issues. So when I take a high dose edible, I can really feel my muscles just relaxing in general. And the feeling of stretching feels amazing. The feeling of my foam roller or lacrosse ball, like it is the most like relaxing. It's most like I get into the pain of when I find a knot and I'm rolling on the lacrosse ball or whatever, and I find a spot. I will dig in, which I would imagine this could also be just getting a massage would probably be the best way to experience this, but kind of getting a massage, a deep tissue massage, would probably be the best thing ever on a high dose edible. But I enjoy, stretching and foam roller. You don't need to get anybody else involved. But if you did, that would be probably the most epic way to do my number 5, which is stretching or just massage during while high. My number 4 activity to do while high is just getting out in nature. Just getting outside and going on a walk. Now, it's better if, I've lived in Denver, and, even though there's a lot of nature where I lived in Denver, I was more downtown. I loved walking around Denver high as fuck. Just having my headphones in, listening to a podcast or listening to music, or not having my headphones in at all and just listening to, if you're out in nature, I'd probably go no headphones just so you can hear the ambient nature sounds. But just kind of being in your own world, walking around where you're at it's like you're floating around town and you're seeing everything kind of, you take an extra beat when you're looking at the world around you, and you're taking it in a little bit more. But yeah, going on a nice walk or maybe a hike too. Nothing too strenuous, just relaxing. But going on a walk if you're at the beach, going on a walk wherever you're at is amazing. Even when I'm here, I'm out in the suburbs now, so just even going a walk around the block is an amazingly relaxing thing to do, because you have that paranoia, but once you're out on the walk, if you have your headphones in, it really feels like you're in a secluded bubble all to your own. Unless something jumps out at you, and then it can definitely be freaky. But a walk is one of the simplest things to do, but just so awesome, and just it's amazing how good fresh air feels in your lungs when you're out on a walk. So that's my number 4 thing, going on a walk. Number 3 is something that I try to do on a regular basis, whether I'm high or not high. It's something that when I do it, I kind of feel high after doing it. But my number 3 thing to do while high is meditate. Tend to meditate because I'm freaking out. If I'm on a high dose edible and I'm freaking out, there's nothing better than kind of getting into some meditation during those moments. because you definitely can. It enhances meditation. It makes it easier to do in some ways. I mean, your mind wanders a lot, but the relaxation aspects of it seem to be easier to tap into. But I love to meditate, and sometimes it's necessary if I feel like I'm having a heart attack to just lay down or sit down somewhere and just kind of remind myself everything's okay and take in, for a few minutes, take in nice deep breaths and just relax, or even doing, like listening to Tibetan monks chant and chant along with them is kind of a next level experience if you're super baked. But yeah, number 3, meditation is just it's next level. It goes like two things that go together so well is getting really high on weed and meditating. That's just hand in hand, peanut butter and jelly, so good. Highly recommend it. My number 3, meditation. My number 2 thing to do high on weed is going to a music festival. Live music in general is pretty awesome when you're high on an edible, but being able, because you feel, just being in live music, you get to feel the music. You really, because you feel when you're high on a really high dose edible, or just edible in general, it really feels like every cell in your body is vibrating at a pretty high pace. Like your whole body is vibrating, like you just got off of a massage chair that you'd been sitting in for an hour, and you just have that residual hum to every cell in your body. So when you kind of match that kind of activeness of your cells and of your being, and you put it in front of music that's like got a rhythm to it and got a flow to it, it really feels like you melt into the music. And going to a music festival is a great way to do that, because you're around a lot of other people that are probably high, different variations of high on different drugs. I don't do a lot of other drugs. I mean, drinking and weed are pretty much all I do. And I didn't even start smoking weed till I turned 30. So I'm not into the other things. I might do mushrooms at one point, but I'm not into, maybe I'll do Molly at some point, but I'm not really looking for it. But when you're at a music festival, you have that kind of comfort that you're surrounded by other people that are high. Everybody's generally in a good mood. Music festivals are great because you can kind of go from one stage to the other, especially if it's like midday. It's not like towards the end of the night where it gets really packed, but you go and you listen to like music you've never listened to, and you're not even listening to the music. You're experiencing the music. You're feeling the music. I remember like being brought to tears, just standing high as fuck, watching some band that had like 10 people dancing in front of the stage. I to this day don't know who they are, but their music just, I could feel it in my bones, and it just made me so emotional to feel it. And it was just going to a music festival on an edible, it's one of the most like immersive things you can do. I mean, that's kind of similar to my number 3 pick of meditation. It's like weed really kind of plugs you into that experience more so than not. So yeah, number 2 is going to a music festival or any kind of live music, but music festival would be the number 1. And it's like the music festival is nice because it lasts a long time. You got food there. And you can kind of like, if it's too much, you can walk away. It gives you a lot to work with when you're high. But my number one thing to do, I love to do this more than anything. Like, I will specifically get an edible to do this activity. I will make sure it's a high dose edible. And depending on where I do it, I try to get the best experience possible. But my number one thing to do, high as fuck on weed, on edibles, is watching an intense movie, a stressful movie, right? And I'm talking about like Captain Phillips is a great film to watch on a high dose edible. It is a crazy ride. Everybody loves Tom Hanks. He plays the shipboat captain, this cargo ship captain that's being taken over by Somali pirates. Stressful movie. The thing that's amazing when you're on an edible is that you feel you're in that movie. You have like you're I mean, the stress of being on an edible in general is there. It induces it, but it feels like you're in the movie, especially if you're watching it on a big screen. The bigger the screen, the better for this. If you can go to a movie theater, the best, by far the best film I ever saw on an edible, high as fuck, super stressed out, at least the moments, was Free Solo. Documentary Free Solo about I think his name is Alex Honnold. He's a solo climber, free solo climber, which means that he climbs ridiculous mountain faces without any ropes. And this documentary is about him climbing El Capitan. I believe it's El Capitan without any ropes. And a lot of it is his preparation for doing it, where he climbs this mountain, climbs aspects of this mountain hundreds of times, literally memorizes every single foothold and handhold as he goes up. Does a lot of preparation. But when you watch that on an like, first off, what I like to do is I get the edible before the movie. I try to take the edible before I go in. That way it kicks in, because edibles will take anywhere from a half hour to an hour to kick in. So I'll try and take it like a half hour before the movie starts, right? That way, it's starting to kick in when the movie starts, and then a half hour into the movie, it's like I'm plugged in. But watching Free Solo, I saw it in an IMAX theater, pretty empty theater, and the edible kicked in pretty hard, and it's a beautiful documentary. But it feels like you're on the mountain with Alex Honnold, and the stress of him climbing, it adds a huge layer to that. But yeah, if I know there's an intense movie that is going to be stressful, and I want to kick that up a notch, there's nothing better than adding a high dose edible to that experience. It plugs you in. It's like way better than virtual reality. It's better than everything. It just plugs you right in to where you're in that movie and you're feeling everything that's going on. So those are my top 5 things to do high, specifically high on an edible for me. Let's go over them again. Number 5, stretching or massage. Number 4 is walking outside, whether it's in nature or just around town. Just getting fresh air into your lungs, walking around, experiencing your reality. Number 3 is meditation. It's also great if you're too high, getting in some meditation, but it really helps like amplify that relaxation aspect. Number 2 is a music festival, where it's just you feel music and you experience music in a completely different way, and you can experience so many different parts of the music festival. It's like it's the perfect place to be high as on an edible. And my number 1 thing is to watch an intense or stressful movie, specifically in a movie theater on a big screen. Just the more you can immerse yourself into the film, the better, and the edible will plug you right in, especially high dose edible, to get that heart rate up and get that intense craziness feeling. But yeah, that's my number 1, watching an intense or stressful movie. So that has been my top 5 things to do high. Let me know in the comments what you enjoy to do high, and we'll be back with more top 5 next week. Get yourself 2 free audiobooks through Audible when you go through my link, inspireddisorder.com/audible. That's 2 free audiobooks just by going through my link, inspireddisorder.com/audible. If you stay with the service, you get a free book every month. Audible originals also available, guided wellness programs, news, and so much more. But get yourself 2 free books because you're a listener of The Ray Taylor Show by going through inspireddisorder.com/audible and get yourself 2 free books. New episodes of The Ray Taylor Show come out every single day. Subscribe on IGTV, YouTube, and everywhere else podcasts are found. Binge the full week ad-free over at patreon.com/inspireddisorder. Buy Ray Taylor Show merch over at inspireddisorder.com. And follow the show on Instagram at Ray Taylor Show. Have a wonderful day, everybody. Peace out!